DDP, how you doing?
Never had a bad day in my life, man. Plenty of sore ones, no bad ones.
I hear you, man. We haven't seen you on TV for a bit now. What have you been up to these past few weeks?
I've been in L.A. making a movie called Get Ready to Rumble, where I actually play Diamond Dallas Page, so it's a real stretch for me.
Oh, it's not, I'd imagine.
But it's actually sort of like Wayne's World meets wrestling, and there's a guy who would be like a Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan who had come to the end of his career, and they want to oust him. You know, the promoters do. It would be like an Eric Bishop or Vince McMahon type of character, and that's played like Joey Pants, the guy who was in The Matrix, Joey Pantoliano, and he's one of my favorite character actors, so getting to work with him is really cool. And Oliver Platt plays the wrestler. And then there's these two kids who are like Wayne's World type guys, Scotty Conn, who was in Varsity Blues, James Caan's kid, and David Arquette. And we put them out of wrestling like on a shoot version, and then they go and get them and try to bring them back.
So do you see yourself returning anytime soon to WCW? Or
I would think no later than the beginning of December, end of November.
All right. When's the movie going to be released?
They're trying to get it for April. And it's one of those movies that's going to be a lot of fun and funny, or it's going to suck. It's one or the other. But for me, it doesn't really matter because I got a lot of really good film out of it and got a lot of connections because I want to wrestle another 2.5 years. I want to wrestle my contract out, and I refuse to be one of those guys that, as they get older, they can't take the flat back bump or go out there and give 200% in the match. And I always feel I always give like 120% no matter what, whether I'm hurt or not. And I want to really leave here on top. I'd like to, leave what would be my prime. And I started a lot later than anybody, but I stay in such great physical conditioning that I can still take the flat back bump and give it everything I got. And I figure that's 2.5 more years, and then I become a color commentator, and from there branch into doing some movies and stuff.
Sounds great. So now I'm sure even while you're on the set of the movie, you've seen over the past few weeks there's been quite a few changes going down in WCW. With Russo and Ferrara from WWF. And what kind of impact do you think these guys have had so far?
I think it's great. First of all, I'm from Jersey. They're from Jersey. It's a good thing. When I was actually, I had a lot of people talking to me about going to WWF when my contract was up, and I'm real tight with Mataro when he was there, and Austin and Cactus, and I actually thought about it. And the main reason I did is because I love their writing.
Okay.
And I know that those guys were interested in me when I to come up there, but obviously I'm really glad that I didn't go now because I'd like to be on the other end of this thing. And there's a whole new if you look at Diamond Dallas Page over the last 11 years, every year to 2 years I recreate them. And that's what I'm doing right now, once again. That's why Kimberly coming back with me is a huge addition. And, when I had her the first time, for me to really get over, I had to do it on my own. And I did. And she went off and got herself over on her own with the Nitro Girls. And we've got some real special stuff planned that I'm real excited about coming back with her.
Yeah, Kimberly's had a much more active role on camera with the company as of late. And how's she been enjoying?
She loves it. You see, I always, before there was ever a Sable, and Sable's a good friend of mine. I've known her before she even met, the day Mark Merrill met her, I was with him.
Okay.
And that's that whole story's in my book, which is pretty funny. But I told Bischoff, who's a very good friend of mine, I said, Eric, there's real money in Kimberly, especially coming out of this Playboy thing. I think we really ought to get behind her. And he just didn't believe that Kimberly had it. And that's one of the things that people don't understand about mine and Bischoff's relationship. We are best friends. We really love each other. But it made it really hard on me. And people don't understand it. But they will when they read the book because, everybody from Jake to Austin to Mick Foley to everybody, they have their interpretations. Throughout my book, people do the talking, not just me, and they'll see that because it isn't just me saying it. And Bischoff said it himself. It was hard because he went reverse of nepotism, if there's such a thing, reverse nepotism.
Yeah.
Even though we're not related, we're tight enough to be. And he made me work 5 times harder to get my spots, and he just didn't see it in Kimberly. But as soon as he was out of that spot, and Nash, who's Nash and I go way back, the first thing he said to me was when he took control, he said, "You want to do something with your wife again?" I said, "Hell yeah!" And then when Russo and Ed, when Vince and Ed came in, they said, "We love you guys together," and so when I come back, there will be a lot of things. And Kimberly, I love right now being away from the show, watching it get better, and watching Kimberly create her own spot.
You think she's ever going to go back to Dancing with the Nitro Girls, or
I don't think so. She's done that. She still takes all her, does all her dance classes and her jazz dance and all. She loves that part. But there's a real chance for Kimberly to really, become what she should have come the first time if they would have put the machine behind her, so to speak, to do what Sable did. And Sable really, broke out and made a hell of a name for herself. I mean, she really does have movie projects because I've talked to her about them because she's interested in doing something with me in them. And she does have a lot of TV stuff and series stuff. And, I mean, what wrestling did for her. And the girl that she played in the WWF, it's so funny how people in wrestling or real wrestling fans, they think whatever is your persona is really what it is outside of the ring. I mean, Rena Mero is one of the nicest ladies outside of the ring. I mean, she's a mom, she's all that, and, the person, she said, you love me because I'm on Playboy and I'm on TV Guide, that was just a facade, and just like we all play a part, we're characters, and they're exaggerations to the good or evil of our real selves, and that's what lays in the element of doubt. And, right now, I'm loving playing the bad guy. I do more charity work than anybody in wrestling, but I love playing the bad guy because it's a lot of fun.
So now back to Bischoff for a quick second. Now that he's out of the picture, you guys still as close as you once were?
Oh yeah, we talk all the time. He's taking a well-deserved vacation, and he's been hunting and fishing and flying, and I'm sure he's getting antsy to get back and do something. I don't know what he's going to do with the company or whatever, but we still talk at least once a week. And I mean, when he was running the company at its height, I mean, there's sometimes 2 months besides seeing each other on Nitro that we wouldn't even talk because he'd be so busy. Now we probably talk more.
How'd you get all started in pro wrestling in the first place?
I actually started as a manager, and what's really cool about the book, I'm going to go back to it towards the end, Positively Page, that took me 2 years to write with a buddy of mine named Smokey. It's like a autobiography.
Okay.
We detailed everything, and it really gets into all of the stories of other people talking about being around that time. Like when I first got in, I sent a tape to the AWA, American Wrestling Association,
yep.
And to be a manager, and I put together a group of guys that wanted to be wrestlers. And Paul Lee had just left AWA to go to NWA, and there was an opening there for a guy who could talk. I didn't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch, but I knew I loved wrestling, and I knew since I was 8 years old I wanted to be a wrestler. And at that point, I actually thought I was too old to go and start and do that. And I spent the next 3.5 years doing that while I was in the nightclub business. Went to Florida Championship Wrestling, worked with the great Gordon Soley, and looked for a break. Tried out in WWF, didn't get it. Tried out NWA, didn't get it. And then when they flipped the script and went to WCW, Dusty was up in... who I worked with in Florida, was up with the WWF. They weren't doing well, so he came down to book it. And I'd worked with him in Florida Championship Wrestling, and he brought me in. And I started as a color commentator, actually as a manager, and color commentator with Lance Russell. And Bischoff came down to try out. And who did he try out with but with me? And I knew him from the AWA, and there's plenty of funny stories in there that led up to that, because the first time we ever met, we almost got in a fight. I mean, so there's really a lot of interesting stories about that.
Now, given your high status and popularity in the business today, what else is there that Diamond Dallas Page can possibly accomplish in the wrestling world?
I just think it's for like 2 years and 3 months, what's ever left on my deal, is to give the best performance I can every time I go out there, to take my character to an even more mainstream level of consciousness. And, I've done a lot with that. But right now, Kimberly and I are marketing ourselves for the first time, and we've been together for 10 years.
Yeah.
But we're for the first time marketing ourselves as a couple. And that's why at Hollywood Squares in the United States, we were on that show. We were together, and we're going to do the Martin Short show, which I believe is Canadian.
Yeah.
We're going to do his show on the 30th together. So we're starting to branch ourselves out together. I want to go out given the same kind of matches I've been given for the last 2 or 3 years, and I don't think there's anybody who busts their ass any more than I do, has better psychology, or tries to take the people on more of a roller coaster ride. On the way out, I hope that we can work out negotiation to become a color commentator here and work Nitro and do that show, or Thunder, it doesn't matter to me. And from there, branch off of that and become a motivational speaker. That's what I want to do outside of that. Because I do so much stuff with the guys, and like I say, a lot of them talk in my book. Actually, when we first wrote the book, it was 936 pages. So we had to edit it down. We're trying to get it one page less than Jack's book.
Yeah.
He's got 503 pages in Mankind Have a Nice Day, and it's a great book, by the way.
Indeed.
But I want to have 502, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it under his. As far as the size, but because there's so many stories in it. But I'd like to, like I said, be a motivational speaker and get into more acting. And I've already been handed a bunch of roles already, a bunch of scripts, but now it's finding time to put them in. And I just read for. This would be like a 2-day shoot for a spot as Gorgeous George for an ABC movie of the week about Muhammad Ali, and because Muhammad Ali pretty much took his whole rap from Gorgeous George, and it's a scene where him and Ali meet, and I did it, and I don't know, I just sent it to the casting agent, but I sent it to the guy who's a producer, turned me on to it. He loved it, so we'll see if it happens. If it does. If it doesn't, I wouldn't want to play any more wrestlers after this, whether it's myself or not, but I would love to play Gorgeous George.
Paige, I appreciate your time, man. Is there anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Big news coming out for, because I was the first guy to really be on the Internet in actually 1996, have his own website, and I saw something on the Internet that, was really going to blow up. I never thought it would blow up as big as it's gotten, but it's, especially with wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But what I did was I reconstructed an entire website with a team of Rich and KC, my webmaster, and Brian Bentley from Missing Link Media, and we put together a website that'll break out November 21st, ddpbang.com. That's ddpbang.com, and from there you'll be able to get the new site, and you'll also be able to purchase on that day at 12 o'clock noon. The book will go for sale, Positively Page, and I've gotten so much positive feedback on the book from people who have already had the inside sheet to read it, and it's a story like it's my life story, and it's turning all negatives into positives. I mean, Hulk Hogan wrote the foreword, Stone Cold's in it, Cactus, Nash, Hall. Hall talks about when I created what his look is now from what he used to look like with blonde hair and a big mustache. I mean, they talk about it. I don't. I got Bon Jovi in it, Leno in it, Malone.
Oh, wow.
But it's because those guys came through my life. Yeah. It's not just I'm just dropping names in there. These guys came through my life, and it starts out when I was a kid, right on up to the nightclub business, into wrestling. And it takes like 8 chapters just to get into wrestling. And the main reason I started to write this book 2 years ago is because I realized that people on the Internet really want to know everything, and there's millions of them, and I'm going to give them something, I'm going to lay it all out on the line, and I shoot on everything. I really don't bury anybody. There's a couple little digs here and there, but basically, it's called Positively Page. It's really a first step of my first motivational books.
So now it's all November 21st. It's also the day here in Toronto. We got a little pay-per-view going on, Mayhem. You going to be here?
Well, yeah, Kimberly's talked to me about that, but I'm not really sure right now because I'm out here filming. But the last time I was in Toronto, that was my first time back after being off for the first movie I did. And when I came out there, man, I didn't realize that Toronto was a heel town. They booed. Here I am, probably one of the only white meat baby faces in the company at the time, and they booed me out of the building. And I just laughed at it first until I mentioned the thing about Scott Steiner, and then they cheered, and I thought to myself, they're cheering Scott Steiner, and then I cut a promo, and oh God, I got some real heat then, and people were really pissed off. I later apologized on my internet site, because if you go to my internet site right now, you become a member of the UDC, you get part of my emails that are sent out every 7 to 10 days. And it's for free, and it's a constant update of what's happening. And it pretty much cracked me, because I was already thinking about going heel, but I didn't want them to turn me before I got a chance. But I didn't realize that it was a heel town, and they hate the good guys. So now it'll be sort of funny if I was to show up there, would they cheer me or boo me? It doesn't matter to me. And that's why... it was mainly because it was the angle where Kim got thrown out of a car, and next thing they were cheering Scott Steiner. But then I thought about it later, maybe they were cheering the match, for me and Steiner. But either way, I would love to come up there. If I don't make it on this trip, I'll definitely make it on the next trip coming up there, because I'm pretty much back in full swing. Because like I said, I don't want to spend full time making movies right now. I want to continue wrestling. I want to work to the end of my contract, and take parts here and there where I can do little parts here and there. But mainly, I want to wrestle for the next 2.5 years and work this contract out.